Bob, we appreciate you making time for us this morning, man. I know that's not the way you thought that thing was going to go.
Nobody did.
No, nobody did last night. I mean, it was basically over from the start, and got our doors blown off, and here we sit going back to the airport. No, in Kansas City, life's good.
Yeah, man. I mean, so if anybody wants to follow Bob, I really enjoyed kind of listening to your show and getting to see how you operate last week. It's at Bob Fescoe, Fescoe. And I think you nailed it with this tweet. Perspective. Tonight blows, but 3 Super Bowls and 2 titles in 3 years is still pretty awesome.
Hell yeah.
So are you able to keep that perspective even, less than 24 hours after an ass kicking?
Yeah, you have to, right? I mean, like we're still living a dream with what's gone on with the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years of this organization and being on top of the football world. I mean, there was 50 years where the Chiefs didn't go to the Super Bowl. There was 22 straight years or whatever it was where they couldn't even win a playoff game. And so now that we've been in the midst of this, like the micro versus the macro type stuff, the micro, really, it sucks, man. Last night was bad, but you knew by halftime it was over and you could kind of start the healing process then. But the big picture is like we went to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. I mean, Patrick Mahomes won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, almost had the opportunity to win 3 straight and do things that we've never seen in the NFL before. And the best part about this loss is that they'll retool. Like this will drive them to win more because that's what they do after losses. They have these big losses in the postseason and they fix everything that didn't work in that game. So I expect a revamped offensive line, maybe the addition of a running back kind of into the fold and see where we go from here. I'm actually excited to see what they're going to do this offseason.
But do you think any of that pressure of trying to repeat got to them?
I think maybe it did. I mean, I didn't feel like it was during the week, but it sure seemed like it in the game, right? I mean, they just couldn't get anything going, and they had an early penalty, and Andy erupted on the sidelines. Like I've never really seen Andy erupt like that before after a call. Spags kind of erupted at that same call too, and so I think it just kind of started to snowball. And once it kind of got out of their control, it just kind of all fell apart.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking to see, man. The KCO line had been pretty good. Did they kind of get to this point with smoke and mirrors a little bit, or was Philly just that good and you got to tip your cap?
Well, I think obviously a little bit of both. That defensive line was phenomenal last night. I mean, they didn't blitz one time and sack Patrick Mahomes 6 times, right? Mm-hmm. You're going 4 on 5 and you're still sacking him 6 times. Like, you're doing something really good. And Josh Sweat was outstanding. But I think it finally caught up with them. We really haven't had a left tackle in Kansas City since the days of Eric Fisher. And that's been the first Super Bowl. So that's a long time ago. And it's kind of all been piecemealed together. And you moved a guard to tackle, and Joe Thuney played great up until yesterday, and then it had the trickle-down effect. Mike Caliendo didn't play all that well. Really nobody on the offensive line played well.
It really did, man. And I think talking with our friend Bob Fescoe here, 6'10", the fan out in Kansas City. You can follow him at Bob Fescoe. Did it seem like Philly just had this gigantic chip on their shoulder from the game a couple years ago? They seem to come out with a different pace or intensity, whatever
they did. I think they hit the Chiefs in the mouth, and the Chiefs aren't used to that, right? There's been like literally 3 games now where you can look at in Patrick Mahomes' career where he's been popped in the face and really didn't have an answer for it. It was the Super Bowl in Tampa. It was yesterday, and then there was some random game in Tennessee a few years ago where they kind of beat him up early and they were never able to recover. So this isn't something they're used to, and I think part of the problem is at times, and I don't know how you coach this, teach this, or whatever, but when you're not used to something and it happens to you, you just don't know how to respond. And since they've never really been in these situations where they've been punched in the face and punched again, they just had no answer for it. They didn't know how to respond. Mahomes tries to be Superman. He's making bad throws, making dumb decisions. And all of a sudden, like, they're playing like a team that we're not used to seeing because this was only like the 3rd time in the Mahomes era we've seen a team do it like this.
Hey, when Buster Douglas hit Mike Tyson, he didn't know. Just stand up. Stop reaching for the damn mouthpiece.
That's exactly right. Yep, the same thing. Like, when Buster Douglas, beat up Mike Tyson, there was like, whoa, and he didn't know how to respond. And so, if you're not in those situations, you don't know how to respond to those situations.
So, I mean, like this offensive line thing popped up against Tampa in the Super Bowl, and it popped up this time. Do you think it's they need to put more mindset on having some depth at O-line? Because that's one position I think you're going to always need more than 5. You need about 10 of them.
Yeah, I think they do. But I also think, like, they need to go out and find that Willie Roaf trade that the Chiefs made some 20 years ago. They went out and looked for the best left tackle and Willie Rofe was available in New Orleans, and they went out and got him. And when things go wrong for this organization, they tend to really fix them. Like we saw the Patriots game, that first AFC Championship game that they lost. They fired their whole defensive staff, brought in new defensive players, changed everything around. Then that Tampa Super Bowl, the offensive line wasn't any good. They revamped the offensive line, and now again we saw the offensive line wasn't any good. So I'm sure they're going to revamp the offensive line again.
It's funny, Kansas City became such a lightning rod. A lot of it is kind of the Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff, and then I'll be honest, I kind of checked out on it, but like whatever Patrick Mahomes' wife got involved in politics or whatever the hell, like, do you think Andy's a guy that likes to let his guys do what they want, right? Just practice hard and play well. Do you think he'll try to dial some of that back? Can you dial some of that back?
No, I don't think so. And I don't think that had really much to do with what happened on Sunday. I just think they were just beat up by a team that they didn't expect. Like, I think Andy prepared for one thing and something else completely different happened in that game. I mean, it's the first time, Vic Fangio's ever beaten Patrick Mahomes and, whatnot. So I just think, look, Andy was out-coached yesterday. I mean, you don't say that a lot, right? Patrick Mahomes was outplayed yesterday. You don't say that a lot. And every once in a while, stuff like that happens. And so it's hard for all of us to deal with because we're not used to it. We're like, oh, Andy got out-coached. That doesn't happen a lot. But he did. I mean, Nick Sirianni and Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, they were phenomenal yesterday. And it'll be interesting to see what Philadelphia does, with Kellen Moore leaving. Can Nick Sirianni kind of keep that thing together? That'll be fun to kind of watch. But I know you guys in D.C. kind of feel like we do. These Philly fans suck. I mean, my God. I mean, you want to talk about deplorable people. I mean, like, just nasty. Like, I guess they're burning the city down this morning and whatnot, but, like, all they're doing is F the Chiefs, F the Chiefs, F the Chiefs. And I'm like, you guys just won a big-time football game. You should be celebrating yourselves. Yeah. And they're worried about me. Like, I don't understand that. I've never been of that mindset before. But, like, all the stereotypes that they have and how awful they are, they're all true. I mean, these people are just nasty yesterday after the game.
Well, I look at the projections for next year, and the Chiefs are number 2 to win the Super Bowl, go back to the Super Bowl again. So
I think your smart money is probably betting on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid going forward, right?
What about Kelce, dude?
Yeah, he'll be back. We had Clark Hunt, the owner of the team, on a week ago. It's been 8 days, right? And so he said, I guess it was Monday, that, Travis is expected to come back. And if you're Travis Kelce, how do you walk away after a game like that where you weren't that good? I mean, you had a couple of drops. The team got, killed. How would you want that? I wouldn't want that to be my last game. So I would imagine that Travis probably wants to come back for one more year. He's got that year left on his contract. And, I think he'll probably finish this thing out, play one more year, and then, call it quits.
Will he be a lot more effective, though? Because I think when you look at him like this year, he gets open, but he doesn't look like the Kelce that we saw in previous years where he was so explosive. He now catches the ball and starts looking to go down.
Yeah, that comes with age, obviously. I mean, I'm not explosive anymore at 47, right? No, but that happens. Like, guys age out, and they get old right before our eyes, as you guys know. Like, all of a sudden, a guy goes from being a superstar to going, oh my God, where did he go? But I think he's got enough in it for one more year. He's still the best tight end in the league, and he's still a tough matchup for most people, in this league. And he's been doing the same, move for the last 12 years or whatever it's been in the NFL. And nobody is able to stop it. Close to 1,000 yards again, was huge in the first playoff game against the Houston Texans this year. So he's still got the ability to get out there and play.
Talking with our friend Bob Fescoe here. You can give him a follow at Bob Fescoe. Hosts mornings in Kansas City. Was in New Orleans. Hell, you're still in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, we're headed to the airport right now. Yeah.
Stop by the daiquiri shop before you leave out, Bob. Be good. They got drive-through. You can just drive right on through, get your deck, and keep moving.
You deserve one.
Yeah, just grab it and go, right?
Dude, I've never had to stay through the game and work like while working Radio Row when I've done the game and hasn't been doing the radio show. Do they keep Radio Row open on Monday? Where'd you do your show this morning?
We did it at Odyssey here at WWL. It's the home for wayward boys at these events. Like, there was one year we did the Final Four. Steve Harvey was in the studio. Dennis Miller was in another studio. John Feinstein was broadcasting on a remote box in a closet. Like so these guys put up everybody. When the big events come to New Orleans. So it's great to have the cluster love.
Yeah, that's great. Well, dude, one thing that I was not prepared for. Chris Jones, during the broadcast, and I know in the stadium maybe you didn't get to see the broadcast, but, like, did he have a pinched nerve or something in his neck? Because they showed him getting worked on by the trainers, and he looked to be in a lot of pain.
We were trying to figure that out as well. He seemed fine after the game. We were in the locker room, and Harrison Butker couldn't find his clothes. That ended up being the big story of the night. You know, they didn't know where his clothes were. Oh, yeah, couldn't find his clothes. Yeah. In the locker room, he's standing there. I could get dressed. He says, I don't know where my clothes are. So they finally found him, and he was the last back to the hotel. But for a good portion of that evening, getting your tail kicked in like they did, and then somebody has your clothes hidden or whatever it was. So it wasn't a lot of fun for him. But that locker room, man, saw Chris Jones. He looked fine. He was dressed and seemed like he's ready to go. But, other than that, there wasn't much talking going on.
We're talking about the tush push. That's after on the broadcast, they said that's what a defensive lineman complained about, how you go down and what you got all those linemen falling on you. Then the people behind the quarterback pick him up and push him across the pile. That's what they were saying he had to get worked on after that.
Well, I mean, the Chiefs have had so many rules changed for them by Buffalo. Maybe we can petition the NFL now to eliminate that tush push, right?
Well, dude, the one thing I will say that is completely unfair, and they did this to you guys last night when they ruled Dotson short, and then they ran the tush push the next play. They go to that extra long cadence with it. They did it last night, and they did it to the Skins in the NFC title game. And so then Washington had a linebacker try to time it out and go over the top. And then the refs have the audacity to say we're going to award a score. Like, they're going to an extra long cadence in an incredibly bizarre play. The defense should be able to react.
Yeah, I mean, but this is why we need to figure out what we're going to do with this play moving forward. Is it going to be something that's going to stay in the NFL? And it's not, because I love watching. I thought that was hysterical. That guy could just get fired like a missile over the top, going after Jalen Hurts and whatnot. I mean, if that's the only way to stop it, I mean, why prevent them from doing something like that?
Yeah, I think what he was saying, it is a rule to talk about some crazy stuff happening, like me running off the sideline and tackling a guy, a fan doing something.
A drone ball from the sky.
I think Hockley was completely wrong in what he stated based off of what was happening.
Yeah, I think so too. I've never heard that in the game before, and I mean, I don't know if you guys have. I never did. I mean, I heard that. I think every NFL fan reacted the same way. Like, what? What are we doing here? You're going to award a touchdown?
Yeah, he's full of crap.
That crew. Philly was also undefeated when they had Sean Hockley's crew this season. I think, what was it, 4-0 when they had that crew?
4-0, no, 7-0.
Oh, they were 6-0 going into the title game. So, Bob, last one for me, dude. I'm just curious. You had a show this morning. I imagine you opened the phone lines up. I just retweeted because I think you're really saying it well that things are still really good if you're a Chiefs fan, even though yesterday sucked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was kind of the tenor of the phone calls.
Really?
Well. I mean, people call in, we're upset, but also realizing big picture. We had one guy call in, he goes, it was cool for me. My 5-year-old got to watch it. I got to watch it with my dad. It was 3 generations sitting around watching the Super Bowl. And, as you guys know, in Washington, they don't happen all that often. And I think people are starting, and hopefully they're starting to understand and to truly appreciate what's been going on. And maybe this loss will make people appreciate what we've been living through more,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
should. Dude.
Tell them, are they going to switch places with us?
Yeah, right. No chance.
For the first time, you could say that, though, and people are at least like, well, you got something
there. Right. Yeah, you guys got it going on. No, I mean, things seem to be working in the right direction there in D.C. Maybe you got your Patrick Mahomes,
Let's do it.
How rough was Pat last night? That had to hit him pretty hard.
Oh, it did. I saw him in the locker room afterwards. He just looked defeated. He just looked like I had never seen anything like this before. And again, because he hasn't seen anything like this before.
But you know what if you see him, you tell him I said directly, that dude never quit. He was trying his ass off, running around with no protection. So you got a gamer. He's going to go out there and go for it anyway.
He really, late in that game, he was getting his ass kicked, too.
He was. And the offensive line just never gave him an opportunity to do anything. And when your offensive line doesn't get the job done, it screws up the entire offense.
Totally.
So Washington plays at KC next year, I guess this fall. That sure feels like a primetime game, doesn't it?
I would imagine. I mean, every Chiefs game kind of feels like a prime time.
Sure,
It's like they're always there. They're always on national TV. Y'all ought to come out if it's a day game, tailgate with us, and have some fun.
We will, man. Bob, thank you for making time for us, dude. Good luck getting out of New Orleans.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me.
All right,
Thanks, man.